I'm Ziva Mercer with Accelerize. Welcome to our fourth video in our advisory series on vetting the solution roadmap. In our last video, we talked about creating a steering committee or a selection committee, and we talked about what the decision criteria should be for that selection committee. We were able to identify and target the list of vendors. We talked about how to create an RFP schedule. And now we'll talk about how to create the actual RFP and what actually goes inside the RFP. In creating an RFP, it is important to find a balance between all the information you want to provide to the vendors. There's two areas that you want to really focus on in an RFP. The information you want to provide to the vendors about your project and your organization, and two, the information that you want the vendor to provide for you so you can make the right decision about your project. So what should we ask for in the RFP? It's important to give information about your organization. So the first thing is a quick fact about your RFP. You want to provide background information about your organization, and most importantly, who you want to be the main contact for the vendors to ask questions. Then you want to add the RFP schedule. We talked a lot about the RFP schedule in the last video. What decision criteria that you want to use in creating the right solution? You should have a project summary, the business requirements, the function requirements, and technical requirements. Then there are some key information that you want to really focus on, and that's starting with the goals. It is very important to outline your goals of the project and what is your expectations. It's also important for the vendor to understand what your budget constraints are and the time frames. Are they able to meet it in 6 months or 3 months or a year? It's important to create the business and functional requirements, and important to talk about what kind of constraints you might have in your organization. It could be a physical constraint, it could be an environmental constraint, or it could be just a resource constraint. But it's important to identify what are your constraints in your organization. Most importantly, what kind of maintenance is required by your vendors. As part of your vendors selection criteria, the next part of the RFP is to provide all the information that the vendor is supposed to provide to you so you can make a good decision about this long-term partnership that you're going to have with this vendor. So part of looking at the vendor is to understand a little bit about the vendor itself, about the company information, how long they have been in business, what are their clienteles, can they help an organization of your size. The next is to look at their proposed solution. Is that solution really going to meet the needs of your organization? And what are the details behind that solutions? What are the costs? What are they going to provide as deliverables? Are they going to add anything additional? Are they going to give you hardware, software, applications, technical support? You might also want them to outline what is the proposed need of resources, because they're the experts in the field. If they're going to help you implement this, they need to help you figure out what resources are needed from your organization to make this project successful. Lastly, it's important to get 3 references from your vendor. These references are going to provide an insight into your long-term relationship with this vendor, how they provided you support, how they support you with training, and most important, how they support you through the implementation. Some of the other things that you want to look for in the RFP responses include looking at the vendor's SLA. What are their training requirements? What kind of training are they going to provide? What are the time frames for implementation, for training, and for deployment? Other areas also include what kind of environmental hardware and software requirements are necessary for them to be able to provide the right information and the applications. One of the other areas that a lot of people don't think about, there might be some third-party vendors and costs associated with this. So we want them to outline what those parameters are. Also, we want to look at ongoing support and maintenance. After all is said and done, who actually owns the data, the hardware, software, and applications? And finally, there are 3 areas that you really want to focus on in your RFP, which includes contract, pricing, and an implementation schedule. Part of the contract is to look at SLA agreements, to look at how they're going to support you long-term, any professional services, and how they're going to be able to provide you for maintenance. In pricing, you want to look at what is their current pricing, What is their future pricing? And how long will they hold the pricing for? Is it 30 days? Is it 90 days? Is it 120 days? The implementation schedule is very important because this will kind of set the stage of how you're going to actually deploy your solution going forward. So in this video, we talked about the two important areas we want to focus on in an RFP. Looking at what information you want to provide to the vendors and what information the vendors are going to provide to you, so you can make the right decision and pick the right solution for your organization. Follow our company page on LinkedIn to see more of our advisory series. Also, we are running an Uncovering Value assessment, which focuses on cutting costs, enhancing your operational efficiencies, and your growth strategies. This is Ziba Mercer with Excel Rise, adding value beyond IT.